Survive or Thrive, SOT, Sowing the Seeds of Empowerment, in collaboration with the California Council of the Blind, April 8, 2017, Adapting to Daily Challenges panel. Get valuable insight from blind students and professionals. Topics range from professional development and raising a family.
And during this portion of the day, for the next hour or so, this is our Adapting to Daily Challenges panel. So we have several different professionals in different fields that all have a disability who will be speaking to you about their experiences in their everyday lives, as well as college students, two of our own STOT organizers, who will be speaking about their college experiences. Has everyone been situated seating-wise?
Yes. We are.
Great, cool. So, I guess to start off, just so that everyone knows who is in the room, can we start off by letting the panelists introduce themselves with their names, their occupation, and why they're motivated to be here today? Starting, we can go clockwise, starting with you, with Anne maybe?
The mic's right to you, so you can start off with the...
Just start off with the one that's right next to you.
Yeah.
I don't know your name, but...
My name is Edward Crespin, California Department of Voc Rehab.
That's your occupation?
My occupation is vocational counselor.
Yay!
Nice. What keeps you here today?
Oh,
What keeps you motivated to be here?
okay, you went the whole thing, okay. I thought we were just doing the names. What motivated me to be here today? Well, I've been with the department for 25 plus years, and I'm legally blind. And if you would have asked me 40 years ago if I wanted to be a rehab counselor, I would tell you where to put it. Because I did not care for rehab counselors. But I was very involved with the California Council of the Blind, and I'm really, really encouraging you all to get involved. That's what got me here. Because through the years, even though I am legally blind, I didn't want to be with those folks, meaning blind folks or legally blind folks, but it kept pulling me in that direction. And joining the California Council of the Blind really helped me understand that we, as people who are visually impaired, really have a disadvantage against us, because the unemployment rate is at 70%. That hasn't changed in years. And I knew I had to do something. Now, I wasn't a rehab counselor before, because I did work with my family business. I was in a hardware business for quite a long time. And then I tried teaching for about a year and a half, but junior high was not my cup of tea. And then I got involved with the independent living movement. And what really got me motivated in helping people with disabilities was getting involved with the city of Riverside in their disability advisory committee. And there's where we created a lot of programs for people with disabilities and made the city of Riverside very accessible. Unfortunately, we'll be out of there now, but because of work. But the motivation really is because my heart really is with people with disabilities, and I'm focusing on people who are legally blind and blind. And it's really important that people who are blind and legally blind stay connected with the community of blindness, because that's what's going to help you. You might think, well, I'm okay now and I don't have to hang around those folks. But when you're around 35, 40 years old, you're going to realize that you're going to have a connection. You're going to have somebody to support you and understand your views. Would that do it?
Thank you, sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Schmitt-Whitaker, and I am an educator in public higher education. I've worked at Cal Poly Pomona University for the past 24 years in June, and I've held multiple positions. I've had multiple opportunities for promotion and growth. I started off as a career counselor, then coordinated a university advising center that served as a home for undeclared majors, and the transition from high school to college. I then was director of a disability resource center. Then director of our student health and counseling service. And a year ago, I began my current position, which is executive director of accessible technology for the university. What keeps me motivated to be here today is that I love to work with college students and that aha experience. So a change in perspective or learning something new and the light bulb goes off. You know, that feeling that's so awesome. I love seeing that in students and hopefully helping make that experience come true. I also am legally blind since birth, and so I know the experiences of as a high school student, as a college student, transitioning to employment, and the role modeling that I received from other individuals who are blind and low vision within CCB and other organizations was awesome. And I gained the confidence and skills by talking with them and then modeling role models, serving as role models. And so I enjoy the opportunity to meet with groups like yourself who are young folks starting off and hopefully be role model to all of you and share some ideas in terms of how I've done things so that you may learn and gain some ideas as well.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joni Patchy, and I, first of all, I'm totally blind, and I have been blind all my life. I have two visually impaired kids, and you might not know if any of you know them, but anyway, the thing that, the reason I wanted to be here is because maybe you guys can learn from some of my mistakes. Maybe I can give you some information that will help you move more quickly and more smoothly into the society of working people. And then, what I do for a living is I'm a BEP vendor under the Randolph Shepherd Act. There's a priority for blind people in state and federal buildings. I run 2 snack bars and 8 vending machines, and I have a hot dog cart and a coffee bar that I'm going to open soon. So I love my job. It's really fun.
I know most of you know me throughout the day. My name is Paula Obtenga, and I am a 3rd-year undergrad student. I just transferred to Cal State LA, and I'm a liberal studies major. I am motivated to be here today because I guess I want to try to make a difference and try to improve things for visually impaired people, maybe kind of like what Miss Patchy said earlier, to sort of learn from what I could have done better, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Wai-Yee Kwong. Also, most of you probably know me by now, if you haven't heard enough of me talking already. So I'm a 2nd-year PhD student at UC Santa Barbara. I'm currently studying educational policy and a particular emphasis on at-risk populations. So that would include students of color, immigrant backgrounds, English language learners, and also students with disabilities. I did my undergrad at UC Berkeley, which for me was kind of a scary change because I've been in LA ever since I immigrated from China to here. And going to NorCal was a shift, definitely a shift. So what keeps me motivated? I guess I'll have to go back on a little tangent here. A few of us at Survivor Thrive, Karen, Raymond, Wael, Paula, Kevin, all of us got together in 2012 and decided that, hey, when we were going through high school, we had a lot of low societal expectations. I was told that I am really skilled at making plastic decorative fruits and that should be my career path. What? And I said, oh, that's really sweet, but I don't think that that's a nice path for me. At least that's not how I envisioned my future. And because of those low societal expectations, I really want to make a difference in showing individuals that, hey, you could live and basically plan, have a seat at your own table to make decisions. Do what you're passionate about, given the right amount of motivation, support network, and resources, you can still chase your own aspirations. So yeah.
Thank you, Tony. That's a really good transition for my next question, which is for those that are still in college or in school. What was your first day at a college or university like? How were you feeling?
So this is going to sound a little strange, but for me, my first day of college was very similar to my first day of preschool. I went through most of public school with a one-on-one assistant who went from class to class with me. I have multiple disabilities. I was also diagnosed with osteoporosis, which basically means that if I fall down, I break a bone. So everybody was terrified of a fall. So anyway, when you go to college, you don't have that. So it was very different. My mom dropped me off to my first class on the first day, and I'd never been, probably since I left Francis Glenn, which was the school for the blind I went to until I was 7, from that point on, I'd never been in a classroom by myself without my aide there, someone familiar that I knew. So on my first day of school, all I was thinking was, I want my mommy. So it was very similar to my first day of preschool, which is basically when you're thinking the same thing. But in college, you can't really cry about it. I had to learn a lot, you know, as time went by. I had to learn to talk to teachers myself, because before that, the aide did it, even though technically I was supposed to do it myself. But, you know, you have the crutch there, and they're willing to do it for you, so you let them. And so I had to learn kind of what you guys have all learned from the get-go. Most of you guys, as far as I know, didn't have that. So you guys, I assume, have had to learn to ask for your assignments on time, ask for things to be brailled ahead of time. I had to learn that at an older age, so that was interesting.
Thank you. So this is Anne speaking. So I think it was interesting. Before I go and talk about my first day, I have to backtrack a little bit too. I had a very big disagreement initially with my family about what college to go to. I got accepted by multiple schools, one of which is UCLA, which is right close to my house. My parents can drive there in like 30 to 40 minutes. And the other school that I was considering was UC Berkeley. Can't really drive there in 30 minutes. You have to drive there in 6 hours plus. Or you could take a plane, and you can get there like in, well, the plane ride is about an hour, but you have to go through like security and stuff. So my parents were concerned that if I went far away for school, oh, what happens if you got sick? Who's gonna cook you soup? And who's gonna do your laundry? You know, you don't know anybody there, you have no friends there at first, you have no relatives there. Like if the emergency happened, you know, what could we do? I was under the impression at the time that, oh, I really wanted to go to Berkeley because they have really good services there for students with disabilities. At least I heard that. I won't go into the details. I heard they did. And I went to and looked up the major, and they had really good professors, and I really wanted to go. And so I spoke with my mother and said, we really need to go physically to both campuses to check them out and see if I really like it. If it turns out that I like UCLA, I'll go there. If not, then I'll go to UC Berkeley. And we had a whole argument about, we're not going to drive you there, that's too far, we don't know English, and eventually I was able to persuade them, more forcefully persuade them, to drive me there and visit. So the first day of school for me was pretty nerve-wracking for my parents. That was why I went and backtracked a little bit, because I was far away, so I'm pretty sure they were all really, really worried. They didn't call me excessively to show that they were worried, but I knew they were worried. I'm the type of person that likes to be adventurous and not really panic until like the day of or the day before. So I was all very excited to go to Berkeley and start my first day until the evening before the first day, and I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. I am really here and I'm starting classes tomorrow. I did have some mobility lesson, some hours in, so I kind of knew the campus, but not exactly well. So I ended up getting a little lost heading to my first class. But I was really nice, and I found some students who were really helpful, some that were new themselves, so they didn't know the way, but It was really, for me, one of the things I learned quickly was don't be afraid to ask for assistance, and don't be afraid to be uncomfortable, because I'm not going to know all the content in the class. I'm going to get lost physically on campus, but if I'm always just concerned about being nervous or uncomfortable, then I wouldn't be able to progress and go anywhere. So I think that was one of the quick things I learned. And as a side note, I have not realized how short I was until I got to campus. And everybody was trying to get out of the lecture hall. You know, there's like this funnel effect where like hundreds of people are trying to get out one door, and I'm like, all of these people are so tall and I'm so short. But that's a side note.
May I offer a tip?
Sure.
Just a tip for that first day of college. One of the things that many colleges are doing now are having a pre-college day experience. So they have orientation, which I highly encourage if it's not mandatory that you attend anyways. But then like the day before the courses begin, they may have a day of getting acquainted with the university. So at my campus is called Bronco Fusion. And that's where you can find out, and people guide all students. These are for all the incoming students, where their classes are. Because all students get lost, and they don't know where their classes are. And they connect you with different resources and services. And so if you get the opportunity to attend a day before or the week before, a welcome week, activities, I strongly encourage you to do that, because you can get many of the types of questions about logistics and orientation and guidance answered at those days or the events.
On a rehab side, going to school is going to be really scary, and I'm sure you are. And get yourself involved with the Disabled Student Services. Sign up for that program. That's really helpful. But really know what your schedule is, know where your classes are, and get that schedule and the fees if the council requires it, but especially the schedule. Because now we're requiring that you give us a schedule, and from that we purchase the books. And if you do not get us that schedule on time, you're not going to get those books. And that's going to be the biggest panic you're going to have, because that's what I see happening with my folks, even when they've been in college for 3 or 4 years. It's getting, if you want our funding, you have to get us the information quickly so we can get it to you. So that's the biggest panic I see from the students starting school.
About how quickly would you say that?
At least 2 weeks. You know when you're going to register, so make sure you get us that information for, in at least a month in advance, and keep in communication with the counselor, because you're not the only client we have. And we do forget, and I do know there's other counselors who really forget. But I try to keep on track. But keep in communication with your counselor. That's really important, so that you can get the tools and the equipment you need.
Thank you, all of you, for pitching in your tips. This kind of relates to Ed's last comment. How important is communication for all of the panelists with whoever you have to communicate with? If it's professors, if it's your bosses, if it's classmates, how important is communication?
Very important.
Let's start
Did you want to start down there?
We'll start down there and then come back this way.
Oh, okay.
We're starting your way.
Yeah, we're starting my way. Okay. I think communication is extremely important. Now we're moving toward a society, I feel, where it's globalized. Communication is facilitated with technology. We're all about collaboration and learning to understand each other's perspectives. Everybody has something to contribute, and working with different types of people who have different temperaments and personalities. So I think communication is really crucial in being able to effectively do what it is, whether it be advocating or getting work done or what have you. I guess I'll share 1 or 2 examples. I'll talk about from a more personal or intimate level first. Communicating with your roommate is extremely important, especially if you are visually impaired. I currently now live in an apartment where there's 3 housemates. So I have to communicate with all of them to make sure. For instance, I'm a very organized person because I have to, or else I can't find my stuff. And in general, I just like to organize because I'm strange. But one of the things that we really started to talk about when we first moved in is organization, who's going to put their stuff in which corner of the kitchen, who's gonna clean on what day. Because you don't want to get into arguments afterwards where they're going to be like, well, you didn't get bothered the last 2 months we were living here. Why are you complaining about it now? So it was for me very important to have that discussion, that apartment mate or roommate meeting, to get that discussion out of the way, and also not to leave your stuff in the middle of the room because I'll trip over it. Don't move furniture unless if you give me a text or something. So at least I know that you moved it. So I'm not like, oh, here's a couch. Oh wait, why is that a TV stand? So those are all very important things in my opinion. But also not just on the more formal level, but in general, for our apartment, we like to bond. Like every quarter or so, we have like a roommate or apartment mate lunch where we talk to each other, not just about formal and serious things like who's going to clean the toilet this week, but also just to bond and get to know each other. And I think having good social skills and being able to talk with people, bond with people, not just when you need them for something, is important to help facilitating that communication. And then one quick example about, I guess, professors, and I'll let Paula and the rest of you all go. So one of the things I've learned in college is that organization is not only physical, but also goes toward paperwork and keeping emails straight and things like that. Getting your schedule in on time and knowing what books you need, as Ed just mentioned, you have to have all of that so VOR can make the purchases, can make the approvals and stuff. So learning, hey, I need to reach out to professors early on, like in the previous semester. If I'm taking something in the spring, I better start talking to them in the fall or in the winter quarter, so that they know, and they could give me their syllabi, they give me their book list in advance. And also communicating to them, I'm visually impaired, are you going to be using any videos in class? If you are, could you please share with me some information on that, or could you be a little bit more descriptive so that I could actually maximize my learning in the classroom and absorb as much information as possible similar to my peers. So yeah, Paula, I guess.
I think communication, especially once you get to college, is really important. And ever since I transferred to Cal State LA, I noticed we've been doing a ton of group work, and it's a lot of texting back and forth with people in your group, and that was very different for me because, well, I'm not a very social person, and I like to work alone. So I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my assignments, and it's like, for example, this past week I had an assignment that was the easiest assignment in the world, but my group waited until the last minute, and I gave them my number and said, text me your number, and they didn't text me. So I was very angry, because I wanted that assignment to be, well, good. And it's just, I guess, having to learn to deal with different types of people is important to, I guess, avoid that frustration. Now I know I should get their numbers first so I can harass them. But, in general, it's just really important to be able to communicate with, as Anne put it, with different people with different types of temperaments, because there are some people who can wing it and do a 10-page paper the night before and get an A. Yeah. I'm just not one of them. So, yeah, that's my spiel.
I can give you a good example of not communicating very well. When I was a junior in college, I went to a college on the East Coast called Stonehill College. And when I was a junior, I went to l'Institut Catholique in France, in Paris, to study for my junior year. And it was really good, but when I first got there, people were talking really fast, and people, I couldn't understand too much of what they said. And I was really good in French too, but it was just such a change, and so much at once, that it was hard for me to keep on translating in my head. After a while, you get so you don't have to translate, but at first it's tough. So anyway, they served, I hate tomatoes with a passion, and they served the first night at this convent where I was living. They had 2 floors of students and 2 floors of elderly people. That's how they made their money. And so they gave me this stuffed tomato to eat for dinner. Oh, I know, I can't stand tomatoes. So I kind of would eat a bite, and swallow it with water, and eat a bite and swallow it with water. And I hurried up and ate it, and they said, oh, you're already done? Would you like? I said, yeah, it was delicious. And they gave me another one.
Oh, I am not that generous. I'm with you on the tomatoes.
And I had to eat it, so, oh no, I'm glad they didn't serve that very often. Anyway, communication is extremely important, and organization is even more important than that. If you don't know where your stuff is, you can't keep on going. You can lose your crazy mind doing that. Trying to figure it out.
I have three things that I'd like to share in regards to communication. I think first of all, listening to the Anne and Paula and Joe and Joni, I agree with what they've been saying about communication, and I think that as people that are low vision and blind, that we need to think about communication from the standpoint of communication is something everybody has to deal with, and students in group projects, that's like the number one thing is that people, students have complaints about, sighted or non-sighted. And so we have to keep in mind, I think, what's a general college student experience communication issue versus what might be blindness related. And I think that's just an important piece to point out, because sometimes an issue might not be blindness related, it may just be a communication issue. And then my second point is in regards to working with professors. It's interesting because as a person who's low vision or blind, if you do use a cane or if you use a monocular in class or something, you are recognized. And out of a class, I was in a class of 200 students one time, and it was the first day of the quarter, and what I typically would do is go up to my professor that first day in the quarter after class and introduce myself and say, I sent you some information, requested the information, I'm so-and-so, here's what I'll need in the class for the quarter. And one professor said, oh yeah, the TA pointed you out to me in the group of 200, because she did a TA in a previous course of mine. And I realized at that point that I'm recognizable, and so I might as well make the most of it. And what I mean by that is get to know your professors, get to know, share with them your interests, share with them your ideas, communicate with them, go to the office hours, have a conversation with them, because number one, they want to have a conversation as well, but that communication thing is sometimes they're a little nervous about it too. So if you go in open, they'll be open. By sharing with them what your needs are, oftentimes they really do want to assist, they just don't know how. They don't know what it is. And I have found that faculty that know what it is that a student needs, they're more than happy to accommodate, but when they have no clue, that's when they get nervous and uncomfortable. And I think if we had no clue, we'd be nervous and uncomfortable as well. And so it's helpful for them to understand what that specific need is to be able to assist. And then from an employer-employee standpoint, I think the communication, especially with a boss, is really important. And I tend to be very open and direct with my supervisors in terms of sharing what I believe is, what I'm capable of, what my needs are, and being respectful of what their interests are or what they want, what they think is important. I do say, here's what my my accommodation needs are. And sometimes I don't know. I'm like, it depends on the situation. We have to experience it to know what it will be. I said, but you know what? I'll let you know. If I need something, you will be the first to know. And that way, it lets them know I'm aware they're open. I'm aware that it's on my responsibility to let them know if I have a need. And I think the more clear I can be in terms of what that need is, the more they can then identify if they can assist or not. I've also had the experience one time with a boss. My boss asked me to share an experience with our leadership group at one time in regards to a issue that we were working through, and we were kind of viewing a little differently, and he knew that, and I said, I don't feel I'm the best person to represent us in this issue because I am viewing it differently than you are. And he goes, no, I want you to explain that to folks. I want it to be out there. And so I did, and I said, you know, Kevin and I have talked about this before. We're coming from different perspectives and understand that from each other. But he wanted me to share with you, here's my perspective. So I think that communication is really important in terms of being open and direct with your supervisor so that you're on the same page and have that common understanding. Because on the job, a lot of misunderstandings come from not communicating effectively with one another, or a lot of assumptions about what people think another person may think. And so making sure that you're clear in terms of what communication and the agreement before you leave. If you have a meeting and you're back and forth, make sure that, okay, here's my action item, here's your action item, or here's the agreement of how we're going to approach this. And by just clarifying that at the end of a meeting, whether it's on the job or in a student group or a club organization, you're going to be much better off. And other people in the group will appreciate that as well.
Communication is really important. Understand who you're going to communicate with. Don't just assume because you communicate with your friends in email and text messages and short messages, that's proper communication. That's really very difficult for a professional to receive something like that. So if you're communicating with your professor, make sure you have good language and good spelling and spell check, because that professor is going to look at your message and say, my God, is this person in college or what? I get emails from consumers that just drive me up the wall. They don't title what the message is. They don't tell me who they are, and they expect me to understand what the information they're giving me is for them, and I'm supposed to react on it. For instance, I had somebody give me their book list. Well, okay, great. They gave me the email. They didn't tell me who their name was, other than the email address. I had all these books, and I have a bunch of other people I'm trying to do, and here we printed it out, but we had no idea who this was because their email address was even different from their name. And I can't remember all you guys. So when you communicate, say, hey, so-and-so counselor, this is me, and here's my book list, and I need it by a certain date. Don't assume we know that. We don't know that. So communication is important. Also, I had somebody send me things, PDF files. Now, okay, fine, if I was at home, I could deal with it, but we're on a state computer system. And you gotta remember too, the state computer system is here to protect your privacy. So there's a lot of things we can't do. Understand that. So when you send us stuff, make sure you talk to the counselor to find out what is the best way to get that information to us, instead of assuming, well, I send PDFs to all of my other friends, how come you don't get it? We're on a state system, we don't get that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult for us to print it out and or put it into a case note because we can't cut and paste. So that form of communication is very important. The other communication is when you don't get the information you need and you go to the bookstore and you go to the bookstore, buy your books, and then they find out it's the wrong book and they're supposed to know that it's the right book and you didn't know that, and so forth. Don't yell at the people at the bookstore, they're just selling the book. They have no idea. It's up to the professor to get that book to them, and so be patient. It's very frustrating to not have the proper book. Same with disabled student services. If you don't make contact with them to take a test and have special time to have that testing, don't get upset with them because they didn't communicate with the professor. You have to communicate with the professor and coordinate this thing. It's real important. One thing that I would highly recommend is create a file for yourself, and what you should have is a file for Department of Rehab, a file for Social Security because you need that grant award letter, a file for your school so you can put your grades in there, and I highly recommend that you print your grades out, your schedule out, and keep it, because that might come in handy years and years down the road. It happened to me. I took a course working on my master's, and they said, you got to take this course. And I said, no, I'm not going to take this course. I looked up my records, and sure enough, I had the course that matched what they wanted. But that was years ago, and they accepted it. So, hey, keep that stuff. So keep a file, keep yourself organized so that you can communicate with people. If somebody wants something, or the other file I want you to do is keep a documentation on your disability. Not the note from the doctor saying I'm legally blind or blind. That means nothing. You need to say to the doctor, hey, look, put down what my diagnosis is, what my visual acuities are. Because you might need it for disabled student services, you might need it for a scholarship, you might need it for Department of Rehab, you don't know who you need it for, but have it, okay? But communication is important.
Thank you. And on that note, I thought it would be nice if any of you have questions in the audience. Does anyone have any questions? If you could all state, whoever has a question, just state your name aloud first, and then ask your question, please.
Lindsay?
Sure, Lindsay, go ahead.
If you're saying that sending the PDF to rehab isn't the best way, what would be the better way to send in grades?
If you can put it in a Word file and or talk to your counselor to find out if that person can open up the PDF file or it's okay for them to receive it that way. Because like I have the adaptive software, it's very difficult. But other counselors who don't have any other disabilities, because you might have a counselor who might have
I have a
other...
counselor with a visual impairment, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, yeah. Try to find out what's the best way. Really, sometimes getting the hard copy, it's not that difficult to send us stuff. You can tell your counselor, hey, give me about 6 envelopes with your name, with your address on it. We won't have her name on it. And I know you guys get them. And keep them handy. So when the counselor asks for information, print it out, put it in there, and send it off. That's the best way to do it. Just make sure your name is on the paper.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you all. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, for all of you. What's the difference between studying and learning? What is the difference between studying and learning? Who can give me a definition of studying?
Joaquin, studying is just going over stuff you've already learned.
Studying's go over stuff you've already learned. What's the other? I heard a female.
I know, Emily, learning never stops. You can always learn more, and studying is just reviewing the stuff that you already know.
Okay, so studying is reviewing the stuff you already know. It's also memorizing stuff for a test.
And then dumping it afterwards.
Right. So that's what you do when you memorize something. You review it. You look at a book. You write it down for a paper. So that's studying. Learning is the process of incorporating that information so that you have an understanding of it and you can explain it to others. And that it's a foundation for learning additional pieces of information. And I asked that question because, and it's great that you understand the difference between studying and learning, because what we're finding is a lot of students don't understand the difference. And this organization is called Survive or Thrive. Thank you. Survive or Thrive. And when I saw that, I thought this is so appropriate because there's this whole conversation in academia with faculty about students studying versus learning. And studying is surviving. Learning is thriving.
It's thriving?
It's thriving. Learning is thriving because you're learning, you're developing critical thinking skills, you're developing analytical thinking and analysis skills, so you can analyze situations, problem solve, be resourceful. It's interpreting and comparing and contrasting, so you can take 2 or 3 different viewpoints or perspectives or options and identify the appropriate solution given the situation. You can take information that you learned last semester in chemistry and apply it to your chemistry class that you're learning the more advanced skills in this semester, for example. So learning is really critical. It's also those skills I just mentioned, the critical thinking, the analysis, the interpretation, comparison, problem solving, solution finding, transferable skills. Those are all things that employers are seeking in employees. And employers say that the reason they seek out college graduates, so sometimes you'll see a job says a bachelor's degree required versus high school degree. The reason are because of those critical skills that you develop as a student and that you've been able to navigate around, interact with a variety of different people, a variety of different personalities and temperaments is what was shared before, a variety of different experiences. You learn how to navigate all that and able to do that. Those are really the skills that employers are looking for and why they hire college graduates. So I'd encourage you, as you finish up your high school degree, pursue your college degree, really try to think about the courses you're taking and the homework you're doing and the learning that to apply learning skills and strategies versus just studying, so that you learn the material and then you can explain it to others. And you will be better off as a student for doing that than if you were to just study.
Boy, that is great, because that leads into what I have to say. Wanting an education for a job, think about that. Wanting education for placement. Now, when you graduate from high school or when you are in college and you're taking college courses, what is that education going to do for you? Don't think that I have a BA degree in English, BA degree in history, that's what I want. What is it going to do for you? What is the placement? Everybody can work, but not everybody can be placed. And that's what you really have to think about. While you're getting your education, your higher education, think about placement. Because I, on my caseload, have somebody who has well beyond education level, but he's having a hard time in placement. I just had somebody who wanted to reopen their case and get their master's in counseling. And I said, what is that going to do? Master's in what? And she said, any counseling. That's not going to do any good. Think about the placement. Just because you have a BA degree is not going to get you the job. So really start networking on the kind of jobs that are out there and network on how to get into that job when you graduate. Don't assume because when you graduate with your AA degree, BA degree, master's degree, PhD degree, that you're going to be highly employable. You're not. You have to really work hard at finding that placement. Okay?
That is very true.
Yeah,
I could not agree more with that.
Karen, it's Richard. Can I ask a question to the panel if we have time, or are we running short?
We have about maybe 5 more minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and take it away.
Oh no, it's okay, you can ask.
All right, so
for them to hear other people.
This is Richard, and my question to the panel, and thank you guys for being here. Let's give them an early round of applause. Ed and Kathy and Joni and Ann and Colin. What is your advice to students out there in high school or in college or about to take the next step in life who are struggling, who are failing, who in their view fail to get that job interview, are frustrated with school, are down and out, and they didn't get selected for whatever that position was, an internship? What is your advice to them to keep going? What are your thoughts on people who come to you as professionals saying, man, I didn't get that job, or I didn't get whatever that next stepping stone is? What is your advice? Because we all fail to get the job we want. It's going to take us twice as long to get that interview because we do struggle with accommodations. What are your thoughts on that? What is your advice to people who are about to give up?
I tell my consumers, don't give up. Yes, the door was closed, but there's other doors there. You have to network and talk to other people in the field that you want to go into, and you have to really polish your skills. Find out what are you lacking. Is it the way you present? Is it what you're talking about? Your presentation. Is it how you're getting to the employer for the interview? Just don't give up. But also network, and then go to the afb.org and go into the career line and look at and talk to other people in the field that you're going into.
So for those that don't know, AFB is the American Foundation for the Blind.
The first thing that, this is my advice, the first thing you need to do is be comfortable with yourself. Be comfortable with your blindness. I put mine right out there. I have smiling faces on my glasses. People know I can't see.
I love it.
And you know what? I'm just saying that I do that in my job too, because people, if they think if she's so goofy to wear those, then I can ask her anything. So that's my way of breaking the ice. It's not everybody's. Trust me, it's not. Probably you shouldn't do it. But it's just my way. But be comfortable with your blindness. Be comfortable with yourself. Be proud of who you are. That shows when you interview. If you're not proud of who you are and what you can do, I'm not saying to brag, but be proud. Be proud and be able to show an employer that you can take a risk, and he can take a risk by hiring you, and you can take a risk by doing the job well. And I mean a risk, because you don't know everything there is involved in a job. So you've got to be able to want to adapt to it, want to work, and put your best foot forward. But remember, if you don't feel comfortable with yourself, who can feel comfortable with you?
I like that quote right there.
I would like to add to what has been said already and say to also be willing to hear feedback and be willing to accept that you made a mistake and to look at how you can move forward and to improve yourself in different areas. So having confidence in yourself, everybody has accomplished something here. Being able to speak to what you have accomplished is very powerful. Being able to say, I made a mistake, or I didn't get that job, and I am going to ask for feedback, and I'm going to improve myself, is going to be very valuable. And then from a holistic perspective, I would say also to develop an exercise plan and to eat healthy, because our body and how we think and how we behave and how we feel about ourselves really ties into how we're eating, if we're eating healthy, and if we're exercising, because that really does improve our belief in ourselves as well.
Thank you. I think I couldn't agree more with what everybody said, and I think for me, the one piece of advice I would really have is to be self-aware. And that would really encompass knowing your strengths. Disability is often seen, blindness, as a negative thing, but there are assets. Y'all are very resourceful. You're all very motivated to do certain things. You're all very good problem solvers, because heck, everybody has lots of problems in their lives. And if we only dwelled on those problems, we wouldn't move forward. So I think having that self-awareness is critical, knowing, hey, these are assets I have, strengths I have. Oh, hey, these are potential flaws or lapses I may have that I could improve on. Having that positive mindset, not that fixed mindset. Oh, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, this is done, like life just sucks. And try to think in a way where things can change. And the only person that can make the circumstance change is you. So if you give up on yourself, don't want to accept feedback, don't want to believe that you have something to offer, then that's the person who loses, you. I mean, I can lecture at somebody all day, but if they don't have they're not ready to accept that feedback and to move onward, then that's not going to really happen. So you're the driver and pilot and controller, whatever terminology you would like to use, of your own lives, and that's what I would say. Paula, do you have anything to add?
Just to add to that, I think one piece of advice I'd give is just to kind of, I guess to go along with what Tony said about accepting your disability, you also have to accept, well, I guess your capabilities. Like, just accept the fact that there are some things that might take you a little bit longer to accomplish, a little bit longer to do, and accept it for what it is, and that you'll get there eventually. I mean, I'm not saying that, you should, I guess, accept that it's going to take forever, but, just accept that it might take you a little bit longer than a typical sighted person. As I'm not sure which panelist pointed out, it takes us twice as long to get employed. So just knowing that in advance and knowing that it's going to take a lot longer, so you won't be surprised, and just accepting that that's how it's going to be.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists for their insights, for not with this said, I'd like to transition into our concluding activity, where
I will be back in 5 minutes. So the wrapping is a little bit left.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. my voice is dying. So everyone, how do we all feel? Temperature check. Did we all feel like it was a fruitful conversation?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, we're very glad here at Survive or Thrive, and I'm sure CCB folks like Richard and the panelists, that you all had an engaging and enjoyable experience here, that you all were able to not only learn from panelists and presenters, but from each other, because as I can't reiterate and emphasize enough that you all are experts and really good at something.
Yes.
And it's really important that we don't guard that expertise jealously, that we share with each other, and that we connect with each other. So I want to first thank all of you, the participants, family members, people who are volunteering for coming here today, spending this long day with us. So give all of yourselves and the family members a round of applause. And I would also like to thank, what the mic, I think I
stepped on the board.
Oh, it's okay. Don't need the mic anymore. I can project. So I would also really like to share my appreciation for the lovely venue space that we have today. Thanks to the hotel and also to CCB and Richard for allowing for this collaboration. Also, I wanted to tell you all a little bit more, remind you all a little bit more about Survive or Thrive, what we are, and the services and supports that we can offer if you would like to follow up on any of these discussions, conversations, or if you would like to dig deeper into any of these very complicated, very convoluted topics. We here, Survive or Thrive is an experience-based support group and mentoring program. So all of the organizers have disabilities, and our purpose is to really help individuals set, move towards, and one day achieve their post-secondary goals and aspirations. We offer formal workshops where we disseminate information through guest speakers and presentations, such as one that we have today. We also offer social events like game days and picnics and cooking events, where students, mentors, staff, parents, and family members can all bond with each other in an informal setting, because social skills are very important, and to be able to network with each other. So we would play adaptive games, adaptive card games that have Braille on them. We would do things like play go ball. Our go ball is a little less intense, you know, because I actually did do go ball at Berkeley that was more formal. But our go ball is a little bit more toned down, so beginners and people who are a little shy can also join in the fun. So we have those as well. And we also have a mentoring program where we connect students with a mentor they can ask questions to, who maybe have gone through a similar path that they would like to go over. For instance, if somebody was curious about Independent Living Skills Center, we would match students with somebody who has gone, so that they could provide that insight into that particular pathway. So we have a mentoring program as well, where we match students and there's communication regularly, so that we can check up to make sure y'all are actually progressing towards your high school goals. Hint, hint, that's realistic, achievable goals. So we also have that as well. If you would like more information about any of our programs, activities, or I would really encourage y'all to look into the mentoring program, because I personally have benefited from a lot of knowledgeable mentors throughout my life in high school. And also, I'm gonna just give a shout out to Richard here. He's been an instrumental guidance. So, Richard! So I think mentoring is really important. So if you're really concerned about a particular topic and would like more information, contact us. I'm going to give you our phone number, 213-537-7884, 213-537-7884, where you can contact us and learn more about our programs and mentoring component. We also have an email address, yes, email, sotvi2012@gmail.com, that you can also feel free to.
What was the phone number?
213-537-7884. You can feel free to call or text that number, but please include your name in the text, because you know I could be getting 5 texts from different people and I'm like, I think I'm talking to you, but actually it's somebody else because they didn't identify themselves. So yeah, did you get the number and the email address okay? Anybody need that repeated?
Yeah, please repeat. Cell phone.
Okay, phone number, 213-537-7884. 7884.
7884. Thank you.
Yeah, correct. So you can feel free to reach us that way as well. And I also wanted to thank all of my co-organizers who are here with us. Paula, Wai-Yee, Karen, Raymond, Kevin. Without their
And Anne.
without their help, we wouldn't be able to pull off the event. So thank you, y'all.
And I want to interject really quick.
Yes.
When you guys approached me, I don't know if you remember 2012. You guys were starting out small, and we gave you advice, and I'm really proud. I really am proud of Survivor Thrive for many reasons, because you guys are all ambitious, go-getter, young adult professionals really making it in this world. And I think all of you in this room should aspire to what these guys are doing. They're all doctorate students. They're all students at Cal State LA. They're working. They're doing it, guys. Go out there and be ambitious. Don't be shy and bashful. And what I really like about Survivor Thrive is they're not affiliated with ACB or NFB. They're their own entity. They don't have any allegiance to one. They're there for you, and I was encouraged that they came and participated with us, and I hope you guys continue to do that. And I know you guys are a small nonprofit, right?
Aspiring
nonprofit.
Getting the paperwork done.
And let us know, because any way we can support you with fundraisers, raffles to keep this going, I think is very, very, very necessary. So let's just give Survivor Thrive as an organization a round of applause, guys.
Before you guys leave, if anybody, I have some business cards with our contact information. If anybody wants one, I don't know if someone could pass them out.
Also, we really wanted to thank Richard for his organization and being the liaison between us and CCB and the hotel and everything for the event. So we got you a small token of appreciation as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For the group. And with that, this concludes the formal part of our day. Remember, there's a CCB
Anyone here wants to be
social event, CCB student social coming up in this exact room. So please stay. I heard they have refreshments. So
Hey guys, there's still sandwiches left. Take one if you want.
Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in our next video.